Hello, welcome to a live recording of Guide to the Unknown. I'm Will.
And I'm his big sister, Kristen.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome
how
to
is
the
everyone?
live. It seems like YouTube's maybe having some issues, so
Yeah.
I guess it's coming back online, and if you have an issue, I guess refresh. To that end, if you see people in the chat saying that they're unable to see or hear, I'd really appreciate it if you would advise them to refresh. It seems like it's YouTube's issue and not ours.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Which I'm thrilled with YouTube having an issue that is not
I know. It's nice that...
not my own problem to solve.
Yes, totally.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What's going on, everybody?
Hope everyone is good.
I hope you're well.
I do. I want to show you some weird stuff in the pre-show that I got in the mail.
Yeah.
I got this, and I'm covering my address. I'll cover their address, too.
Yeah.
I'll show you, though.
Okay.
I got this weird letter
Okay.
from Mr. Martinez.
Yes.
It was sent a month ago to my old address and just got forwarded to me at my new place.
Yeah, it's all beat up looking.
Yeah. Okay, and this is what the letter says. It's typed out, and it has my name on it and everything. It says, "Dear Kristen, as part of a volunteer service to the community, I'm writing to families and individuals in the area to see how you all are coping with current events. The coronavirus pandemic, unemployment, violence, and economic difficulties are placing extra stress on families and individuals. Many are not able to see their friends and family. Some may start to feel isolated, maybe even depressed. However, the Bible's wisdom can help you deal with problems that are caused by isolation. Philippians 4:6-7 says, "Do not be anxious over anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication along with thanksgiving, let your petitions be made known to God." This is a good reminder to avoid being anxious. Also, the Bible gives advice on other subjects such as staying physically active, avoiding needless anxiety, and many other things to help combat isolation. If you're interested in learning more about how the Bible's wisdom can help you during these challenging times, please visit jw.org. Sincerely, Mr. Martinez.
What? Can I see this?
Yes. So it's a Jehovah's Witness thing, but they've upped the ante and they're sending personalized letters?
Yeah, they can't
Simply
go door to
signed
door
Mr.
anymore.
Martinez.
Yeah, they don't want to do the door to door thing because of COVID, I guess. But
Yeah.
It's a handwritten envelope.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is real weird.
It's very strange.
Well, listen.
And it's very like blocky penmanship.
Yeah.
When I saw this letter, I was like, what the hell is this? Who's Mr. Martinez?
It looks like it's written with like a guide. You know what I mean? Like it looks like it was written with a ruler. Look how straight everything is.
Yeah, it is very straight.
Yeah, it feels very regimented and orderly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very peculiar. It kind of looks like little kid handwriting.
Yes. There's like almost a typo in it for a second. So do
Yeah.
you think that like everybody on your block got that letter?
I don't know. Ryan didn't get one. Only
Well, maybe
I
they did one per household.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So maybe. I don't know.
I don't think we got one.
They didn't know my apartment number.
Not that I know anyway.
Yeah.
That's
it was
interesting.
just 224.
Weird. Cool. Well, you thinking of signing up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to jw.org.
why not?
And now, have you heard the good word about skipping birthdays?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Great.
Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate birthdays. You
No,
know
I
that? Yeah. Caitlin got one as well, and it was addressed to Caitlin Steele Bronson. That's awesome.
Interesting. Maybe they gave you a nickname.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Huh. Interesting. So I guess people have gotten this before. I've never gotten one. I've never seen one.
Yeah.
I've never heard of somebody getting one, so I thought it was real
I've
weird.
never felt that emotion.
Never truly. So I thought it was very strange. That's a Joanne the Scammer reference from like 2016.
Still funny.
Yeah, totally. Also, we got mail
Yeah.
to our P.O. box
That's right.
that I was waiting to open with you.
It's cool.
Yes, this is from Chloe. Thank you. I'm just going to bang.
Just smash it into the microphone. It lets people know that it's tangible,
Yes.
physical, and real. Yeah.
It's a very 3D experience.
Yeah.
So, Chloe, thank you so much.
Yeah,
and I'm going to
thank
open
you.
it right now with Willie.
Very cool. Yeah, our P.O. box address is somewhere in the bar down here. It'll flash on screen if anybody wants to send stuff. We've gotten requests before. By no means is it an obligation.
No. Okay.
Yeah. What's up here?
This looks awesome. There's definitely a book.
Cool.
Oh, I've seen this book, like, around. It's called The Lost Apothecary.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Look at this cool...
Is that a handmade
Yes!
card? Can I see that?
And it has a note on the
This
back.
is so cool. Greetings from New Jersey, and it's got the phases of the moon and the Jersey Devil in the trees. Look at that. Look how cool that is. This is awesome, Chloe. Greetings from New Jersey.
God.
I'm gonna read what's on the back.
Okay.
Is that all right? Dear Kristen and Will. What? You just keep gasping.
What is this strange doll? It says Motonka.
Oh no, not Motonka.
Oh my God. Okay. This seems like it's not personal. It's like explaining what it is. Note, please keep doll out of reach from pets/babies. Thank you. Motonka dolls are used in Ukrainian folk magic.
Oh.
I recently took a class on this subject to reconnect with my heritage, and we learned to make this doll, so I made one for you two.
Oh, that's cool.
Motonka dolls are small fabric dolls who hold a satchel of magic items. When making this doll, you must think good thoughts, you can't use needles or scissors, and you must wrap each thread 3 times in a ritualistic manner. Motonka dolls are also faceless because it's said that if you give it a face, the doll can have a soul and evil spirits can possess it. Yikes.
Whoa.
Since Motonkas are household protectors, I wanted to put traditionally protective items in the satchel. I put salt for general protection, poppy seeds and lavender to protect you in dreams, and rosemary, birch bark, and black tourmaline for protection against psychic attacks. Enjoy.
Chloe, this is awesome.
Chloe, what the hell?
This is amazing. I've never heard of that.
Neither have I. And look at the cool illustration.
Yeah, it's a drawing of the Motonka. You can see the red cross on the face of the image matches the red cross on the face of the doll.
Thank you.
This is so cool.
So much.
Give this bag a whiff.
Holy crap. Oh, it smells lovely.
It smells amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so cool. So do you see how it is? Like it's the face like holding a little bag?
Yeah.
I don't know if we were showing it right for the camera. So there's a cross over the face so it can't curse you, and it's like little arms holding the satchel of magic stuff.
That is so cool. Thank you, Chloe.
Love this. Chloe, thank you so much. And they also sent, like I said, The Lost Apothecary and also this cool book. It looks like a sweet thrift store find.
I think there's context here in the Jersey Devil card, which again looks like amazing. We've got to get like a good photo of these and post them.
Oh my God.
Dear Kristen and Will, thank you so much for your time and hard work making Guide to the Unknown. I wanted to return the favor. Besides this postcard, I'm including 2 books, The Lost Apothecary for Kristen and
Nice.
I'm Black and White for Will and Zoe, my favorite spooky book growing up, British ghost stories. Cool. That sounds awesome. I'm also including an odd talisman doll from a Ukrainian folklore class. It's supposed to bring good luck and protection. Thanks again for the marvelous community. I don't know any other podcast that I could send a doll to, and they wouldn't think it's weird. Best of luck in the future, Chloe from Patreon. Thank you so much, Chloe. This is amazing.
Thank you so, so much. That is so cool.
It's wild. Greetings from New Jersey. I love that. I love that so much.
I love it. I can't wait to reach out and say thank you.
I know.
Yeah, I'm remembering now. I think I have The Lost Apothecary on my Goodreads list.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I want to see this black and white book.
Like, I
So-
think it's something that I've been wanting to read.
Chilling tales of strange and creepy happenings in black and white and other stories. Very slowly, the camera began to turn a second time. Jenny thought how sinister it looked, clicking round on its place. This is cool.
That's
this is
awesome.
so cool. Wow. Thank you so much, Chloe. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's so cool. Thank you so much to anybody who's ever sent us stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
It's the nicest thing.
It's like very thoughtful and really interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, you showed us something that I've never heard of before.
Neither
in my
have
life.
I.
Yeah.
Nope. I love it.
Cool.
We should keep it here. I don't know why I put it back in the bag.
Maybe it's safer in the bag.
No, it's protecting us.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the bag will keep it safe.
Well, but
Is
don't
what
you
I
want
mean.
to see it?
I do want to see it, but I don't want it
Let's
to.
put-
I don't want to risk its safety.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Motonka there.
Motonka. There you go.
Motonka.
My Motonka.
Oh, my Motonka.
Oh,
okay.
Motonka.
Motonki.
That's so stupid.
I know.
All right, everybody. Well, I think we're gonna maybe launch right
Yep.
into the show.
Yep, let's do it.
Please feel free to share the link out there.
Mhm.
If you want to do any of those super chat things, go hog wild.
Yeah, by
Have a
all
party.
means.
It's a blast.
If you do super chats, you can tell us like a dumb face to make. And when we catch it, we'll make the face, hopefully. If
Yeah.
we don't catch it, we apologize.
You can make us look dumb.
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
Okay.
Showtime.
Mhm.
Hello. Are you going to listen to a podcast? podcast? Do you like scary podcasts? What's your favorite scary podcast? Well, it better be Guide to the Unknown.
Hello, welcome to Guides to the Unknown. I'm Kristen.
And I'm her little brother, William.
And this week we're going to do a rundown of some popular, cool horror video games.
This is something that people have requested, which honestly, not that I'm surprised by it, but we've touched on video games certainly on this show in the past. We've done Five Nights at Freddy's.
Right.
We've talked about...
Silent Hill.
Silent Hill, there
Yeah.
you go. But by and large, even though I am certainly a video game fan, sometimes I struggle to actually condense what's in a video game into something that's shareable here. Because
Right.
obviously, unlike a movie, video games go on for like dozens of hours of material.
They can be sprawling.
They can be quite dense.
I found myself up against quite a feat
Did you?
with one of these games.
I'm very excited about yours.
I don't know if I rose to the occasion.
I don't care.
I found myself intimidated by Fatal Frame.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's
There's just a lot going on.
that's sort of what I expected.
but
That
it's
is
very cool.
a deep franchise.
Yes.
is my understanding.
Yes.
So,
But so
we're
we-
going to be spoiling things, I should say.
Completely. I want to say this topic was inspired by Lindsay from the Guides to the Unknown Facebook group, which
That's
you can
right.
find at facebook.com/group/GTTUpod, because they commented asking about which was the episode where we went over all the horror video games. And people commented back being like, oh, they haven't done an episode like that, but they talk about this here and this there. And I wrote back and I was like, we haven't done that, but that sounds like a good idea. So let's do it.
So here we
So
are.
thank you very much.
So we've each gotten like sort of a handful of games
Mm-hmm.
that we're going to give in our impressions of the lore. We're going to try to explain some of their stories. Honestly, my personal feeling about doing a show like this is that I think for a lot of people out there, everybody's comfortable picking up a book
Mm-hmm.
or hitting play on a movie or a show. Not everybody's comfortable grabbing a controller and playing a video game.
Yeah,
Not
well, it's not
everybody
as
bought the
passive.
things. Yeah,
you know?
exactly. So I think that arguably less people have played these games. I haven't even played all the games that we're going to talk about.
Right.
But so this is at least a way for us to present to you a whole world of horror that you may not have access to otherwise.
I mean, I feel that way. I haven't played any of these games, so I like just being able to read what the story is about without having to do anything else, frankly.
Yeah.
I've also, not a ton, but I've definitely gone and watched cutscenes from video games that you've told me about being cool on
Yeah.
YouTube. So I feel like this is kind of equivalent. Like, I have watched all the Uncharted cutscenes. They're still in my YouTube saved thing. So if I ever save something, I have to go through 9 things of Nathan Drake.
Oh, good. Sounds fun.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, it's fun to just hear about the plots of them.
I know, they're very creative.
Yeah,
They're very
totally.
creative, and there's some wonderful storytelling happening in video games.
Oh yeah.
The other thing that I want to call out is that our upcoming episode of the Netherworld Dispatch, which should be out next week on the 13th, we're going to be playing some horror games as well. So
Right.
if you're not already a patron, go to patreon.com/GTTUpod, sign up, and this coming month on the 13th, you're going to get an episode where Kristen and I are actually playing stuff, some of which we might even be talking about in this episode, some of which are going to be completely different. So
Right.
we're doing all horror games right now.
Yeah, it should be pretty cool. Especially after researching the stuff, I'm excited to actually see it in motion.
Yeah.
I saw some of it in motion during my research, but to play it,
Yep.
will
Totally
be
different beast.
interesting.
Can we start with you and Fatal Frame then, since it was so heavy?
Let's get it out of the way.
Really? You
I
think it's-
feel heavy hangs the crown
Oh.
because people love Fatal Frame. I know that friend of the show and patron Drew is a big fan of Fatal Frame.
Okay.
I'm afraid that I'm going to let him down.
Well, listen, I don't know much about... I know the bare concept of this franchise, and I believe it's a sprawling franchise with many entries.
Yes, it is.
So I know the gameplay hook, but I don't know anything about the lore.
Okay.
If the lore runs so deep, we can't be held responsible for outrageous lore.
It's just that there are a lot of games. I think there are 5 of them.
Okay.
And so they each have their own story. What I have chosen to do here today
Yes.
is tell you the story of the first game, then some selected, especially creepy characters from the rest of the game.
That sounds wonderful.
So bits and bobs.
I'm very thrilled about that.
Okay, great. So here's the deal. The broader thing is that you have something in this game called the camera obscura This is how the gameplay works. And you are walking around looking for ghosts to take pictures of. And the closer you get to the ghost when you're taking the picture of it, the more points you get, or, whatever. I don't know if they actually call them points. But the conceit of that is that by documenting ghosts by taking their picture, you are acknowledging their pain and freeing them from limbo.
Oh, that's interesting.
So they can kind of carry on. So they are scary. Like they'll creep up on you, like stuff like that. But you are liberating them from this mortal coil.
You know what? That's not bad. That brings to mind The Sixth Sense, the movie, where the ghosts are scary because they're locked in misery, but really they just sort of need somebody to acknowledge that they exist and help them move on.
Yeah.
Weirdly, ghost stories are frequently like ghosts are the embodiment of pain or worry, anguish, not letting go. Literally, they're still lingering here. And what they need is actually some degree of tenderness, which is not necessarily what you want from a ghost story to feel warm and fuzzy.
Yes.
But honestly, that it makes a sort
satisfying sense.
It makes thematic sense off of what the ghost's doing here in the first place.
Right. Because when you boil it down, like everybody in whatever format it is, and if you don't agree with it, everybody is looking for love.
Yes.
Like it does. I don't even mean romantic love.
No.
But everybody's looking to feel loved.
To feel heard, to feel understood. You deserve to feel understood.
And so even in the afterlife, it does make sense that they're still seeking that.
Yeah.
Because everything everybody does is motivated by love.
Correct. And they're probably lingering here because they're feeling the direct absence of that. That's they say that ghosts have unfinished business. It's closure. It's literal closure on how does... have I made myself known and heard?
Right.
Maybe if I rattle these chains.
Yeah, I'll be acknowledged. And I can feel, like fulfilled in that way, and I can kind of move on.
Yeah, I'll stack these books in front of Bill Murray.
Hole.
Yeah.
Correct. Knock them all over. They get everywhere.
No human being could stack books like that.
Absolutely not. Okay, so here is what the larger kind of plot story is. And I took this from Wikipedia because it just says exactly what it is, so I didn't see a need to rewrite it. Set in the year 1986, the year of your birth, the story follows siblings Miku and Mafuyu Hinasaki. When Mafuyu disappears while searching for a famous novelist in the haunted Himuru mansion, his sister Miku goes to find him. During her explanation, During her exploration of the mansion, she discovers clues as to the fate of those who entered, must fight hostile ghosts, and discover the truth behind a dark ritual that took place there.
Cool.
The gameplay focuses on the siblings exploring the mansion and fighting off hostile ghosts using a special camera. So you're fighting them off in that you take a picture of them and then they'll go away because they're satisfied, basically. So here's what happens a little bit more in depth. So Mafuyu is searching for his tutor, whose name is Junsei Takamine, I'm going to say Takamine.
Okay.
And his assistants. And so Miku follows him. And as she explores the mansion, Miku discovers signs that Takamine's party were killed by the mansion's ghosts and finds rope burns appearing on her wrists and ankles.
Oh.
Further exploration through the mansion turns up information on a dark ritual that took place within Himuru Mansion. A chosen shrine maiden was torn apart using ropes attached to her limbs and neck in the so-called strangling ritual. Very Blair Witchy.
Yeah.
Then the ropes that killed her were used to seal the Hellgate, a portal to the afterlife that keeps a dark force known as the Malice and the dead from escaping into the living world. The last time the ritual was performed, the sacrifice was Kiri Himuru. Shortly before she took part in the ritual, she fell in love with a visitor to the mansion. Fearing that Kiri would not want to perform the ritual, the master of Himuru Mansion has the visitor killed and lies to Kiri, telling her that the visitor has left. That is very Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, it is.
That's the plot of the Haunted Mansion in Paris.
Yes, the bride.
Yes. However, she does find out the visitor's fate and, as feared, does not want to perform the ritual. This caused the ritual to fail and the malice to leak out, killing everyone in Himuru Mansion and causing the ghost to remain there and attack anyone who explored there. Mafuyu, so was the brother, was captured by Kiri due to his resemblance to her lover.
Uh-huh. That's very classic horror as well. That,
Yes.
You know, you look like somebody in the timeline who's gone, whose
Right.
you know, lover is still looking for them. The idea of like opening a locket and being like, well, this looks just like me.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Is that would that be a funny concept if it was me opening a locket and there's a guy that looks like me from like 100 years ago?
A funny concept for what? For just life?
Yeah, I guess like a smiling.
I mean, it would make you. Yes, if you presented me a locket that had you cross-eyed smiling like that and said, "Look at this guy. I found this at a thrift store." Yes, indeed, that is a funny concept.
Perhaps related to this fellow, and it's like a grainy sepia tone photo of somebody who looks like me, but like holding
So
a pitchfork, like a farmer. You know,
It'd be like your American Pickle situation, where like that movie where Seth Rogen is, you know, playing himself as like an ancient ancestor.
Yes.
Yes.
He gets pickled and gets transported to today.
It
I
was a
didn't
cute
watch-
movie.
You saw it?
Yeah.
Why is he alive?
They acknowledge that's just silly.
It's just silly. They just go with it. The
Yeah.
point is get ancestor
Exactly.
and modern day guy together.
That's all.
So they can compare times.
Yes.
And abilities.
Yes, I think that there might be a narrator to the story here and there or something, or maybe they say it, but they acknowledge in some way, like, I know, just go with it.
Yeah. Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love the idea of taking that horror concept, but the fact that like usually the concept is a modern day female who's conventionally attractive opens a locket and it's a photograph of a woman who looks identical to them but is like in an elegant
Right.
evening gown.
Right.
Used to be the queen of this manor or used to be the wife of the mysterious steel magnate. Probably was killed by the mysterious steel magnate, and it's like, my God, I look just like this woman.
Right.
But if it were me, Will Rogers, modern dummy,
Yes.
and I open a locket, and it's like some goofball, a goofball from 300 years ago that I look exactly like, and there's some sort of a ghost that's coming at
You
me.
have to free him somehow.
I have to free the
Yeah.
spirit of a guy that looks 100%. And like, it's just unlikely for somebody 300 years ago to look exactly like me. Right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but why? I don't know. Is it?
Because I defy...
I mean, it's unlikely for anybody to look like anybody.
No, that's not true.
What do you mean?
Because I think that I have defied any type of style. My beard's unkempt, my hair's unkempt.
William, that's very stylish.
Look at me.
No, but it's true.
Okay, well, 300 years ago, that was not the style. So I guess it would have to be
I don't know.
somebody with like
that's
a
kind of what
slicked-
Seth Rogen looked like in
All right,
American Pickle.
We'll workshop this concept later.
I just think that you're not as like uniquely like uncarbon copyable as
Really?
you seem to be thinking.
I feel I'm purely a man of today. Superman's the man of tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm the man of today, right now.
If you're saying that you don't have any discernible style or whatever, then doesn't that mean that you could kind of look like anybody?
If I was in a time machine, I was dropped off 300 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Do people go, whoa? Or do people go like, yeah, this guy fits right in
I mean, they would definitely go, whoa, but that's not unique to you.
because I'm so cool.
Correct.
All right, whatever. Let's move
Because
on.
they didn't have polo shirts back then.
I'm
or
not
whatever.
wearing a polo shirt.
Oh, you know what messes me up? Your what's it called?
You're holding
Your mask.
You're holding me to a style I haven't had in years. I used to wear polo shirts 100% of the time. Now I'm just down to the t-shirt. And yet my reputation
Do you
is
still wear
hounding me.
Do you wear an undershirt under your t-shirt, or did you just strip off the polo shirt?
Stripped
and that's
off the
in-
polo shirt. This is what used to be an undershirt.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that for you. I'm glad about that.
Thank you.
You're
and
welcome.
I just usually have my mask around my neck
Right.
like a dickie
Yeah, right. That's what threw me is I saw a shirt and like something else was
or an
happening.
ascot. Allie made
Yeah,
all
an
these masks
ascot.
for me, and I just wear them every day because I hate forgetting them.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It does suck to forget them. Why the hell were we talking about that? Oh yeah, okay, here we go.
Because we were
'Cause
because we were on
Mafuyu-
the topic of the episode. That's why.
Well, because Mafuyu looks just like Kiri's lover,
Right.
who was killed by her father or whatever.
This is the kind of episode, this is the kind of tirade where we get the weirdo 1-star review where they're like, they don't even talk about the topic. We always talk about the topic.
We really usually do.
This is the first tangent we've been on in a long time.
And it's still pretty related, you know? Well, it's about, well, I guess it is about whether you would fit in 300 years ago.
It was about me opening a locket and seeing a different me, which I still love. I would love to see
It
that.
is funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what happens after they find out like why Mafuyu was captured. Miku finally reaches the chamber of the Hellgate, where she confronts Kiri's corrupted spirit. With her spirit calmed using an artifact called the Holy Mirror, Kiri accepts her duty as the Rope Shrine Maiden, keeping the malice at bay for eternity. The ending then diverges depending on the game's difficulty.
Oh.
In the normal mode ending, Mafuyu stays behind with Kiri to help keep her spirit company, while Miku escapes the mansion. So I guess Mafuyu doesn't really mind being captured all that much.
Yeah, she's like, I will stay here and I will help ensure that the malice
Well,
never...
it's the dude who looked like her lover.
Oh, okay.
Mafuyu is like, yeah, I guess I'll stay here and make sure the malice is all good or whatever.
Right.
In hard mode, Kiri convinces Mafuyu to escape with his sister. In both endings, the spirits trapped in the mansion are freed, while Miku loses her sixth sense.
Huh.
Then there's a third ending which is exclusive to the Xbox version, which sees the spirit of Kiri's lover returning to her, while Miku and Mafuyu escape.
So what I'm hearing is there are very classic elements of sort of gothic romantic horror with very classic concepts of vengeful ghosts who are actually sad and need help.
Right.
And you set them free by taking photographs of them.
Yes.
And the gameplay stuff is the better the photograph, the higher the score. Now that is also not dissimilar from Pokemon Snap.
I know.
It's like Pokemon Snap with ghosts.
It's basically scary Pokemon Snap, except that the things you're snapping are very scary.
It sounds pretty cool.
It does sound cool. So now let me tell you about some of the greatest hits, some of people's favorite, like most memorable scary ghosts in this.
Yeah.
Okay, there's somebody who's known as the Falling Woman. This is from Fatal Frame 2, and this is a ghost who jumped to her death, and now she just relives it over and over. She's stuck in like a residual haunting where she's just doing this over and over again.
Oh, wow.
And she comes after you when she sees you, because I guess she can see that you see her or whatever. And because when she fell, all of her limbs broke, she's like dragging herself over to the picture I saw was her actually upside down, and like her face is facing you backwards, and she just kind of drags her limbs.
Almost like the spider
toward
walk
you.
from
Yes.
The Exorcist.
Yep, exactly. Interestingly, there's also a broken neck woman, which is very much like the bent neck lady.
Oh, yeah.
So that pops up in Fatal Frame 2 as well. And then there is something from Fatal Frame 2 that's like a cool... Because the other thing is that, like, when you snap pictures of these ghosts, it brings you to basically a cutscene telling you their story, either before or after, I'm not sure.
Okay.
So there are all these, like, mini stories within the game telling you the messed up stories of these ghosts.
Well, that's cool.
So there is a story about these freaky twins, and it involves an esteemed doll maker who built his daughter a cane, all sorts of dolls to make her feel better over the loss of her sister Azami, including a real life-sized replica of her past sister.
Oh.
Akane forms an unhealthy attachment with the Azami doll, and then it doesn't take long for this doll to get possessed by an evil spirit and operate on its own. The possessed doll makes Akane kill her father and then proceeds to take Akane's soul, which is just devastating. And it's very scary.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's like a very, very sad plot line.
I really love the vignette style of this, the anthology of like, this is the story of this spirit, this is the story of that spirit.
There's so much, because then you have this like broader story where you're following your heroes who have the camera, but then you get to learn all these little things about the spirits along the way too, which is very cool.
You know, I was never, this is a franchise that I was always aware of but never really got into. What you're describing to me sounds like a very potentially good version of the movie 13 Ghosts with Matthew Lillard and Tony Shalhoub.
Yeah, you're right.
Which is all about the Black Zodiac, and here's the...
That is such a badass name, though. The Black Zodiac. I love it.
I know. But the ghosts in that movie, they did this whole thing of like, there are 13 different spirits, and they're each very frightening. There's like the witch, there's the Juggernaut, there are...
The Jackal.
The Jackal.
That's the scariest one.
The Jackal was a person who was mad, and they had a metal cage over their head that they burst through, and they're in a straight jacket that they've ripped their arms off of, so the sleeves are just flapping loosely, and they're just screaming and running after you.
My former boss at the salon was the Jackal for Halloween one year. Were you there for that year?
Yeah, that's right. Yes, I was.
She does really amazing special effects makeup, just like as a hobby.
Like really amazing, yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. And she looked awesome.
The movie is like an abundance of style, arguably too much style.
Yeah, 13 Ghosts, yeah.
But they really went into like the profiles of each of these spirits,
Yeah.
and that I always found fascinating. The movie was okay,
Mm-hmm.
but then I remember I would go online and read the story of the Black Zodiac ghosts frequently, and that's what it sounds like. If I were a kid and I got into Fatal Frame, I would pore over all of the details of all of these ghosts. I would want to know their individual stories.
There are a lot of them, and actually one of them took off like crazy and has become kind of like a Japanese version of the Slender Man.
Oh.
From the game, from what I used to tell you the truth, I saw one thing that said that it was spawned from the game, and then I saw another source say that the game took this existing character and incorporated it, so I couldn't swear, but there's definitely overlap either way. And they're known as 8 feet tall. That's the name of this character.
Okay.
Maybe it's a weird translation or something, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's just a freaky name. But it is a woman who is 8 feet tall, unsurprisingly. And the story of 8 feet tall popped up on a Japanese website in 2008. Very much a creepypasta, basically. And it's a long story. It's really cool. I have it linked in the show notes. And the story describes a very tall woman who's wearing a brimmed hat and who had a creepy little laugh like, po, 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 it says.
Okay.
And when she sets her sights on you, usually children, you would die in a matter of days.
Oh.
Somehow she's going to come get you.
The fact that it's days makes it worse.
Yeah, you have to wait for that.
Like the conventional American thing is if she looks at you, you die.
Right.
Right? It's sudden.
Yeah.
But the more sort of like 7 days of like The Ring, where now you're tortured and you have to live knowing that the end is coming.
Totally.
Is so much more horrifying.
I wonder if that is at all kind of like a frequent Japanese sort of horror construct, because that's, I mean, Ringu, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wonder if it's sort of a trope.
Yeah, I don't know.
In any way. But the story I read, like, it's very cool. I recommend reading it. This little kid sees this woman. She doesn't know what the hell the deal is. And then she goes in and she tells her grandparents about it, and they freak out. They're like, wait, what? You saw a tall, did you make eye contact with her? Did she look at you? Like, what happened? And they try to, make her not die.
It's hard to imagine now having a kid. It's hard to imagine being like, I know this monster is real and out there, but I haven't told my kid that they need to make sure never to make eye contact with this thing.
Yeah, right.
You know, the idea that like from a kid's perspective, the adult's going like, you didn't look at it, did you?
Oh,
it's scary for a kid, but from an adult perspective, give them a heads up that thing might exist.
Well, it hadn't come around in 15 years.
Oh,
so I think they thought that they were in the clear.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. That makes more sense.
Yeah. So that is at least the beginnings of Fatal Frame, the basic premise, and some of the coolies from it.
It sounds...
The coolie ghoulies.
It sounds rad. I think that there is a Fatal Frame that's coming out on the Nintendo Switch. I think it's supposed to be a remake of one of the older games. I don't know.
Okay. I think that people love the first one, and then there are like mixed reviews about the sequels. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was the first one.
Maybe we track down the first one to see if we love it or something. That it would be certainly fun to check that out.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, I'm going to talk about something that is sort of near and dear. Sort of near and dear. We talked about this somewhat recently. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Dead by Daylight.
Yes.
So, Dead by Daylight, we discussed in the Saw franchise episode. I was talking about how this is a multiplayer video game. It's an online experience. 4 people play as humans. The 5th player is a killer, frequently a supernatural killer, who is trying to systematically kill all the 4 humans.
Yeah.
The mode of the game is less about the killer actually sneaking up on you and stabbing you to death. The lore of the franchise is that there is a Lovecraftian unknowable entity. The entity creates an arena, usually the woods, sometimes it's abandoned buildings. It's the level, it's the player map. And they pull in a killer, and they pour in 4 humans, and they pit them against each other. Can the 4 humans escape from the arena by doing all these challenges, or will the killer be able to get the better of the humans and sacrifice them to the entity?
Right.
All right. So here's what's here's sort of like the construct, the meta. Here's what the game actually is and how it came together. It was put together as like, yeah, we've got a guy that's basically like a Jason Voorhees type. We call him the Trapper.
Yeah.
You know, think of Jason Voorhees as big lumbering guy with a spooky hockey mask. He's going to get you with a machete or a variety of tools. The Trapper is big hulking guy, scary mask, and he's going to get you with a variety of tools. He'll literally set bear traps and stuff to catch you. He's obviously a playoff of Jason Voorhees because they're an indie developer. They can't get Jason Voorhees. They can't get these real characters.
Sure.
Except the game started doing insanely well. And so they did start making licensing deals. So now within the game Dead by Daylight, you can play as Michael Myers. You can play as Laurie Strode. You can literally play as Jamie Lee Curtis. She was my main for a while, Kristen. I played this game pretty aggressively for a while with some friends, Bobby, Mike. So there's Bruce Campbell's in it as Ash. Does the voice as well as Ash.
Groovy.
Yep. Freddie.
At least I didn't do the voice.
Groovy.
I can't do it.
Freddy Krueger's in there. The reboot version of Freddy Krueger.
So what's that guy's name?
Robert Englund.
What's that guy? Is James Earl Haley? What's his
Jackie
name?
Earl Haley.
Jackie Earl Haley.
Yeah, it's the Jackie Earl
Really?
Haley version. Yep.
That's weird.
Now, usually, and this is important as we build up to the one I want to talk about.
Okay.
Usually,
The one.
the true one. Usually, whenever they release DLC, downloadable content for this game, it'll include a killer, Michael Myers, a survivor, Laurie Strode, and an arena, Haddonfield.
Right.
You can literally walk the streets of Haddonfield as Laurie Strode. You can see the Strode house, Michael Myers' house, with the pumpkin, the jack-o'-lantern on
very
the
cool.
porch. It's very fun looking. It's very authentic. It really evokes the feeling of the movie. Now, with the Freddy Krueger one, like I said, it's Jackie Earl Haley, and the arena is Badham. What's the school for babies?
Nursery school?
Yeah, kind of. Where do you
Daycare?
go? No, where did we go to before we went to Reading Elementary?
Christchurch preschool.
Preschool.
Yeah. Didn't I
Badham-
say that already?
You said.
Oh, I said nursery school.
Nursery school.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a preschool where that's part of the reboot. And the survivor, the hero character, is Quentin from the reboot, a.k.a. not the iconic hero of the the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. It's all reboot stuff, which is concerning.
Huh.
Right? It's not the stuff you'd want. It's not.
No, but there's so much other cool stuff.
There is.
That seems like it's just a minor misstep.
Okay, well, let's talk about Ghostface.
Okay.
So
Wait, I'm sorry. Before we talk, I just have to insert this. Do you remember when you and I were playing it virtually?
Yeah.
Because it's like online, so Will was at home playing, and I was at home playing, but then we had the phone on and we're talking during it, and so I don't know. There's some sort of like random thing where you either get assigned to be one of the the runners, like the
you
victims.
might be a hero or you might be the killer.
Right, and like I have played it only a teeny bit. I'm just like not really great at video games. I don't really have a handle on have my hands do different things like that. And I was made the killer for this round, and we couldn't believe it. And we could hear people in the game because you could hear the other players, and they were like, "What are they doing?"
I think, to be fair, this is so nitpicky, but I know people out there are thinking, this doesn't sound right. It was Friday the 13th, the game, that happened.
Oh,
But you could hear the other
okay.
survivor. It's very similar, Friday the 13th, the game, except it's
Okay.
only Jason Voorhees stuff. But you could hear the other people going like, where's Jason? Are we just, so what? We're just going to walk around? And then they were like, let's go bully Jason. Because in the game,
yeah,
you
that's right.
can hit Jason with a stick
Yeah,
and he'll be stunned for a minute. And so it was just people teabagging and like running around Kristen. She's going like, what button do I hit? What do I do? And I'm looking at what she's doing, and her character's just spinning around, just swirling. She can't do the two thumbsticks where one moves you and one looks. She can't do that. So Jason Voorhees is just like stumbling slowly, looking around, then getting hit with a stick and going, huh? What's happening? And people are going like, Jason, you suck.
Hearing the people was so funny. I could not believe that I got chosen to be the killer.
It was pretty amazing.
Believe it. It was like Will was like teaching me how to play the game, and I was chosen to be like the main person in it.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
It was really funny.
All right, so let's talk about Ghostface
Yes.
in Dead by Daylight. So like I said, they've gotten real franchise stuff. Oh my God, here's Ghostface. Kristen, this is all I could ever ask for, right?
Yes.
All right.
I'm guessing no.
Within the world of Scream, there have been 7 Ghostface killers.
Mm-hmm.
Billy Loomis is probably the most widely known.
Yep.
Followed quickly by Stu, the original 2 killers.
I bet people don't know Stu's last name though.
I know it.
I do too.
Stu Macher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't ever hear about Stu Macher.
Okay,
You might
do
hear
you
about
know-
Billy Loomis, but you don't hear a lot of Stu Macher
Well,
talk.
here's a test for you too. Scream 2, Mickey. Do you know his last name?
No.
Mickey Altieri.
Okay. No, I would never have guessed that in a million years.
Yeah, that's his
okay.
name. And Mrs. Loomis, Billy's mother,
Mm-hmm.
which I believe her name is Nancy Loomis. They don't say it at all, but that's, yeah. Then there is Sydney's half-brother, Roman. Roman Bridger, director.
Of course, that I knew.
And then you get Jill.
Do they ever say Mickey's last name, or do you just know
They
it
never
from
say
like
it. They
life?
never say
Oh,
it.
okay. Yeah.
I know it just because from life, live in life,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm from the streets.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Jill and Charlie from Scream 4, certainly lesser known, but that movie's getting increasingly respected as
Yeah.
time goes on.
It's
So,
good.
the killer in Dead by Daylight is Danny Johnson,
Okay.
known as Jed Olson by some.
Well, that just must mean he's using an alias. I don't think they're using Jed as short for Johnny or whatever his name is.
The point is, it's just already complicated.
yeah,
right?
it is. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, Dead by Daylight, one thing I really want to shout out, man, these developers and these writers are so talented. They know their stuff. They write some really extensive lore. Certainly, it's the kind of thing that, like, if I were younger, I would pour over every ounce of information available in that game. It is lore heavy.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the story of Danny Johnson, the Ghostface of the game. And by the way, my theory here, they couldn't use one of the film franchise characters because technically the Ghostface mask is predates the Scream movies.
Yeah.
It's an actual Halloween costume that a set designer saw doing location scouting and went, this might be good, Wes Craven.
Mm-hmm.
And they got the rights to the mask.
And they were right.
They were 100% right. But so the mask is owned by Fun World. I think Fun World licensed the mask,
But not the character.
not the characters. They didn't
Yeah.
own the characters. So Ghostface is one of the only killers that when you bought the pack, it's Ghostface, no Survivor character, there is no Sidney Prescott, and there is no level pack. Woodsboro doesn't exist
Right.
for all intents and purposes. So, Danny Johnson, known as Jed Olson by some, grabbed the newspaper from the kitchen counter. It was a week old, but his face was on the front page, grainy and sunken. It was one of those muggy afternoons in Florida when the heat and humidity permeated everything in the kitchen, making him sweat while standing still. He slouched in a damp chair to read.
Ew. Gross.
This article had better be good. His work in Roseville had been outstanding. Ghostface disappears, June 18, 1993. At first glance, Jed Olson was a modest and enthusiastic freelancer with experience in a variety of small newspapers. The staff at the Roseville Gazette appreciated how easygoing and honest he seemed, and so he was treated as a stranger for no more than 5 minutes into his interview. Jed quickly spotted the editor-in-chief in the room, gave him a wide smile and a firm handshake, and talked about good old American values. And that was it. He was in. That was an ex-contributor at the Roseville Gazette. Olson never justified his erratic career path, which zigzagged between several small towns from Utah to Pennsylvania. There was no verification of his previous jobs. He had a decent portfolio plus a good attitude, and they needed a contributor right away. The Roseville Murders. Olson had been working at the newspaper for 5 months when the Roseville Murders began. Victims, from young to old, stabbed to death in their homes. From the reports, the victims seemed chosen at random, yet the killer knew his way around the houses. The multiple stab wounds indicated a personal motive. No traces of DNA were found. The local police were confounded. The murders were carried with fury akin to a crime of passion, yet coldly premeditated. The murderer also liked to stalk his targets. 2 victims had reported being followed on their way home by a dark figure a few days prior to their death. The killer would follow them from Walleyes, a small bar, and snap pictures of them at home while looking for a way in. He would watch the same victim for weeks, meticulously registering their habits and routines. When he felt the urge to kill, he'd visit the most vulnerable victim on his list and break inside the house quietly. So basically, they make a case for the Ghostface killer to have been a stalking murderer
Right.
without it being tied to the Scream franchise at all. Panic Rose Panic swelled in Roseville when Olsen produced footage of a hooded figure breaking into a house at night. The masked face, a white blur in the dark, stared at the camera for a second before disappearing inside. The ghost face caught on tape was the resulting article written by Olsen. So he's almost like a Peter Parker type.
I was about to say that.
Yeah, he's almost
It's
like
smart.
he's snapping photos of Spider-Man to give to J. Jonah Jameson.
Exactly.
Damn it, Olsen, I want pictures of Ghostface.
If only.
Yeah, exactly. Olsen left a note on his work desk before disappearing. I hope you liked my stories. I enjoyed bringing them to life. Don't worry, I'm not done.
Okay, I won't worry. Good to hear.
Yeah, I'm not worried at all. So here's the next thing. So the point is, he's a very cold-blooded, deliberate stalker guy.
Yeah.
One thing that
It's a good story.
It's a good story. It's a fun story. It's like kind of clean. It's
Very.
good. It's clean serial killer stuff.
Yeah, he's been moving from town to town.
Yep.
He has a job where he can be kind of transient like that.
He's a drifter.
I like
He
it.
stays close to the news, similar
Yep.
to the way that serial killers usually like to get involved in investigations. The other thing that I think it does, it ties thematically somewhat to conventional Scream movie Ghostface, where in the first movie, they make a big deal out of saying they're interviewing kids at school to ask them if they like to hunt.
Oh, yeah.
Because Drew Barrymore...
I know. Isn't that so weird when you think about it?
Yeah.
It makes it very real. Whenever I seize on that fact, if I'm watching it, like they were asking kids if they want to hunt.
Yeah.
It's so freaky.
It's very scary.
Yeah.
And I honestly, even as a kid, when I got hooked on Scream as a 10-year-old, the idea of them being a hunter and using techniques typically used to track animals, to track humans, is very scary. There's a most dangerous game type quality to Ghostface in that first movie to me for that same reason.
I haven't thought about the hunter thing as having to do with any sort of tracking. I thought it was really just about the gutting thing.
It's definitely about the gutting, but I even feel like the phone call stuff is about positioning. It's almost like using a duck call to bring the ducks to you. Like he can call Drew Barrymore and hear where the phone rings to know where she is. In Scream 2, when he calls Cece, Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Sarah Michelle Gellar is walking quietly through her sorority house. The phone rings, and she picks up the phone and goes, hello? And then Ghostface bursts out of a closet. One, it's good classic scary pacing for the audience to have her pick up the phone, then he bursts out. But two, from a Ghostface perspective, he heard where the phone was picked up and knows where she is in the room.
I've never thought of that before.
There's a tracking positioning thing to Ghostface, to me.
How do I keep learning more and more about this movie?
It's like an onion.
It surprises me every day.
I'll never be done talking about it.
Apparently not. I never thought about that before, and that's very cool.
We also got a bad review once because we talk about Scream too much.
What?
Just saying.
I don't know if that's going anywhere.
Just saying. So here's the next thing about Dead by Daylight. They usually will tell a story about their killer and then explain how they ended up in this, otherworldly arena governed by an H.P. Lovecraft entity. Yeah,
because everything in this is supernatural, even if, like, the original movie isn't, because it's got this guy.
Exactly. So, like, when we were talking about Saw, I talked about how Amanda from the Saw franchise, when she lay dying on the... in John Kramer's room of a gunshot wound, she suddenly felt herself no longer lying on linoleum, but lying on like leaves and sticks, and suddenly she was outside in the woods.
Yeah.
Like the entity world is the afterlife for Amanda.
Right.
It canonically picks up right after her death in Saw 3 somehow. So here's how our guy, Danny, ends up in the arena. So Danny pinned the week-old article on top of a picture of lacerated scalps. A faint pang of hunger hit him, and he wondered when he had last eaten. Was it this morning while washing his knife and clothes?
As you do.
Or was it last night after following that girl down the street?
What a normal life.
He couldn't remember. Taking a step back, he admired his work on the wall. His mind drifted, remembering all the articles he'd written, the stories he'd planned, and the scenes he'd brought to life, which we know is a euphemism for killing people.
Right.
A shiver ran through him. A chilling breeze transformed the bedroom's humidity into an opaque, freezing fog. A woman shrieked. Dead leaves crunched under his feet. He smiled in anticipation. Almost like in some otherworldly way, he knows,
yeah,
oh, I'm at a
my
place
greater destiny.
where I can hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was already corrupted by the entity into
Yeah.
going after the 4 human survivors in an arena.
Right.
So, trivia. The Ghostfaces in this game, the character's real name, as well as the town of Roseville, where he did his stalking and writing, are potentially inspired by Danny Rolling, a serial killer who murdered 5 students within 4 days in Gainesville.
Oh.
Does that ring a bell?
No.
The Gainesville Ripper.
I know the Gainesville Ripper is a thing, but I don't know about this guy.
The Gainesville Ripper was Kevin
Oh,
Williamson's
yes.
inspiration
Yes.
for Ghostface.
So it's perfect.
They went all the way back to the
Right.
source. They went all the way back to Kevin Williamson's inspiration and built a new character from that point of inspiration.
That's very cool.
It's very clever.
I love that.
They don't have the rights to the Scream movies,
Mhm.
but they're going to follow the creator's trajectory.
Yeah. We
And-
can use the same sort of source material.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That
that's
is
very, very cool.
clever, very smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got other trivia that honestly is sort of redundant. But the point is, they put Ghostface in Dead by Daylight, and he's not the
Yeah.
guy that you'd anticipate him being. They also changed the outfit somewhat from being a cheapo Halloween costume to being, which, like, in the movies, it's like a shimmery,
Yeah.
cheap
It
black
has that like
cloth,
nylon sort of sheen to it.
which I love. In the
Yeah,
game,
or
they make it
polyester.
almost look like a leather cloak with strips of leather. It looks like a Mortal Kombat version
Yeah.
of Ghostface.
Yeah, he has almost like a what's it called? Like an executor sort of vibe.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He does. So I'm not going to say it's not different. It
Mhm.
has to be different by design.
Yes.
But when you don't have the rights to all of the IP's lore, you do what you can and you forge a new path that's hopefully, if people look close enough, just as satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's super cool. All right, so before we move on to me telling you about Manhunt,
Yes.
which I believe you had me do specifically because you thought I wouldn't like it,
Would not like it.
right?
Correct.
And you were correct.
Good. Okay.
First, you got to hear about our sponsor, career coach Tracy Michelle Bullock of simplicitydoyourdream.com.
Yeah.
So this week, while we're talking about Tracy, I want to share one of her pearls of wisdom because on her Instagram page, she shares these thoughts and perspectives, I think just about every day. And so I thought that we would share one with you all out there as kind of a tip of the week
Yeah.
sort of vibe.
That's right. And here it is.
Mm-hmm.
Procrastination can be super informative. Maybe you don't need to be doing that thing after all.
Okay, I find this a very freeing notion.
Me too.
And one that I have applied to my life before with varying degrees of success because there are certain things that you feel like you have to do for whatever reason. But when it comes down to it, there are a lot of things in life that we actually don't have to do,
Right.
but we just think we should be doing. And when you're pushing something off, it can be worth looking at whether that's one of those things.
I couldn't agree more. Specifically in this context of forging your
Yes.
own path forward, of trying to start your own business or project or what have you, that you are answering to nobody but yourself.
Right.
You can get bogged down in thinking that you have to do all the same conventional stuff that's been done before, which is usually, to me, what leads to procrastination. I don't want to sit and have to create this logo
Right.
or write all of this copy that nobody really reads anyway.
Right, but you just feel like you have to because that's what people do. It's like a status quo sort of thing. I definitely found that with, and it's funny to say as a social media manager, but I mean, I found that with our social media. Like,
Oh, yeah.
no one was ever coming to us and being like, oh, I found you through your Instagram. Ever.
Right.
But I used to try to do a little bit more with our Instagram. Now it's just sort of like perfunctory. It tells you what episodes are out, maybe something fun every once in a while if we genuinely feel like it.
Yeah.
And our business has not taken any hit for
Yeah.
it. If anything, we just continue to grow. So having somebody like Tracy as a career coach who can kind of help you come to those conclusions, hopefully faster than you would on your own, faster than we did on our own with
Yep.
that, is super, super useful. So among other things, Tracy offers free 30-minute coaching sessions, which is so awesome. So you got an intro session that's half an hour long, that you can book through her Instagram or her website, which is simplicitydoyourdream.com.
Yeah, and for personalized advice from a business pro, you have to work with Tracy. Make your appointment for career coaching by going to @TracyMichelleBullock, Michelle has one L, or www.simplicitydoyourdream.com. And just for Guide to the Unknown listeners, Tracy is offering 20% off your first month of coaching if you name drop GTTU pod when you get in touch with her. You should be doing this as you speak to strangers all the time anyway.
I mean, yeah, this should fold neatly into your daily life.
Paper or plastic? Have you heard Guide to the Unknown?
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
You know how this goes. So you'll get in touch with Tracy at Tracy Michelle Bullock or through simplicitydoyourdream.com. And just like everybody else, let Tracy know that GTTU Pod sent you for 20% off your first month of coaching.
Yes.
Very cool.
Regular or
Thank you so
unleaded?
much.
Have you heard the most recent episode of Guide to the Unknown?
Can you believe what the kids did this time?
They're blowing my mind.
Right. This is the sort of thing that you do.
Yes.
You do? Okay.
What was that?
I don't know.
This is the sort of thing you do. Very proper.
It's what you do.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about a very improper game.
Let's do it.
This game's rude.
This
game's rude, crude. It's got attitude.
It sure does.
It's not my kind of dude.
This is an exploitation game.
Yes. It's a torture porn game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so this is called Manhunt, and William was correct when he predicted that I would not like this game. This guy's not my kind of guy. But I will say it does have an interesting plot line. Like, it's very fun to talk about.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed researching this, but I was like, "Ugh,
Oh,
ugh."
yeah. It makes you want to throw up.
Yeah.
But it's so cool.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool.
They found a way to do the kind of thing that like Rob Zombie loves, but not make it feel like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think that he would revel in this because it's violence overload. Violence explosion here. The point is violence, violence, violence.
Right.
But there's also a very frightening story that is pulling it all together, that's weaving all the killing together.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. So this is what the plot is. There's this guy named Cash who's on death row, and he's about to be executed when he wakes up from his death, and it turns out that he was just sedated, not actually given like the killing shot or whatever. And he has an earpiece in from somebody who's calling themselves the director. Now this is Brian Cox who's doing this, which is awesome.
His voice is one. If you don't know who Brian Cox is,
one of the best voices in the biz.
Absolutely, he is. I think one of the best known things of his is honestly X-Men 2.
Yes,
he was the bad guy in X-Men 2, and he was the original Hannibal Lecter in film.
Yeah, and that movie is called Manhunter, and this game is called Manhunt.
Yeah, you're right. That's
I know.
interesting.
Also, what's his character's name in this? You end up finding out. His character's name is Starkweather, which I found kind of close to Stryker.
Yeah, sure.
It's a bit of a stretch, but still, it jumped out at me. Also, he's in Succession. If
Okay.
anybody watches Succession on HBO, I'd say that now is what he's most well known for.
He's in the movie Zodiac, which I love.
Yes.
Yep.
And he's the voice of McDonald's commercials where he goes ba-da-ba-ba-ba, like
No
that.
way, really?
Do you know those commercials, right?
Well, they've been doing that jingle forever.
No, but it's like him just doing it like I did it, like all soft and casual.
Really?
Yeah, he'll be like, 2 juicy burgers on a thingy. Ba-da-da-ba-ba.
What, you couldn't think of the word bun?
Yeah, I guess not.
What else are they going to be on? A thingy.
I don't know. Yeah, a thing. With the
2 juicy burgers on a thingy.
with the seats.
The pillowy one.
What is Okay, so the director is in his ear telling him that he can be free, this guy Cash, if he roams around the city killing hunters, which are different gang members, and the director is going to be able to know that Cash is actually doing it because there are CCTV cameras all over the city that will be documenting it. So an interesting wrinkle to the way that this game is told to us is that we're finding all this out because it's being reported on by a journalist.
Right.
So it's kind of found footagey a little bit.
It's very found footagey.
Yeah.
The whole presentation of the game, a lot of it is like, camera angles that suggest peeping Toms and watching, like you said, the CCTV camera footage. It's very voyeuristic.
Yeah. All right, so you're playing as this guy. You're going around killing like messed up sounding gangs, including and everything has like a Z on the end. So there's a Nazi skinhead gang called the Skins, a sadistic paramilitary group called the War Dogs, and at one point they kidnapped Cash's family to use as bait. Bad guys. A group of psychopathic murderers in monkey costumes called the Monkeys with no Z, which I found surprising.
That's weird.
An outlaw gang called the Innocents with a Z, consisting of the Scullies with a Z, who are occultists with skull makeup, Hispanic occultists with skull makeup, and the Baby Faces, who are demented pervs wearing baby masks, and a group of schizophrenic former inmates called the Smileys. So he's working his way through all these people, killing them for the director. Right after he kills a bunch of people, the journalist who we are hearing about from him enters the story, enters into the story, gets to him, and tells him that she knows who the director is. It's Lionel Starkweather, who's part of a snuff film ring. So I guess he's using this as his snuff films. Like, he's having Cash produce content for him right now, basically.
He's paid money to have a serial killer not actually be put to death so that he can film the serial killer killing people so he can sell videos.
Right. So she's like, I have evidence and we're going to bring it to the police. I got it all figured out. I just need you to escort me to my apartment because people are after me. So they go there. And then Starkweather sends the police, who he has in his pocket because he's blackmailing the chief of police, after them to the, to the apartment to like get them and stop them, but they manage to escape. So Cash tells the journalist to just go turn in the evidence, get this taken care of. I'm going after Starkweather. But Starkweather, once Cash gets to his place, has a final henchman whose name is Pigsy. He's a chainsaw-wielding guy wearing a pig's head, and he's usually chained up in the attic, but he has been let loose to take care of Cash.
Sort of a Leatherface crossed with the Gimp from Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, totally. Cash is able to kill him by tricking him into standing on a grate that collapses. So he's like, whoa! And then I guess Cash like steals his chainsaw and kills him with it. And then he goes to Starkweather and disembowels him with the chainsaw.
Oh, wow.
So then that's the end of the game. The police get the evidence from the journalist and they're able to prosecute the rest of this snuff film ring. But Cash, he's nowhere to be found.
Which is weird because
lives to die another day.
They treat it like he's, like escaped into the night. He's gone free. But the whole story started with he's a serial killer that they were going to put to death.
Yeah, right.
Your hero character is a depraved serial killer who only survives by serial killing.
Yes.
This was a severely controversial game.
Yes, it was. So, and in part because of this. So the plot line is dark, but the gameplay mechanisms might be even darker. So a lot of games have different difficulty levels, and here the normal difficulty level is called Fetish. The harder one is called Hardcore, and there are 3 levels of murdering that you can do, like 3 different flavors: hasty, violent, or gruesome. The weapons in the game are things like plastic bags, crowbars, and baseball bats, kind of like found objects. And then later on in the game, you can use guns. And unsurprisingly, you get more points for making the kills as brutal as possible. So you're supposed to make it as like bloodsheddy, basically, as possible.
You stalk people, you crouch and sneak up behind people,
Yeah,
and then you hold a button to ready your weapon. And the longer you wait at the ready, the more gruesome the kill's going to be. So if you manage to creep behind them long enough, you'll get the hardest core kill, which has the hardest core gruesome. You'll get a gruesome kill with a gruesome animation, and your score will be astronomical.
Right, but you're taking a risk because the longer you're crouched back there, they could turn around and see you and put up more of a fight.
It is insanely stressful, this game.
It sounds like it. Just looking at the cover of the game looks stressful to me. It's like all close up and blurry because it's like a CCTV thing of like a very scary guy's face.
Oh, yeah.
When your health is depleted in the game, you take painkillers to raise it back up.
Now, that's a thing. Yeah. So the developer of this game is Rockstar Games. Best known for Grand Theft Auto, which was insanely controversial in its own right.
Of course.
They also were one of the publishers of a game called Max Payne, which was like a hard-boiled detective kind of story where the guy's like, I knew the second the rain came down, the rain was pouring, like the misery pours out of my heart. And in that game, you'll find painkillers, and that's how you replenish your health too. Just like, if John McClane from Die Hard just popping aspirin in the third movie, right? He just always needs aspirin or else his hangover is going to make it impossible for him to be effective.
Yeah.
So they played that up, and then here in Manhunt, they sort of, I guess, kept that.
Okay.
But it feels so much more insidious in this
Yeah, it
environment
feels
to just
so
be
grimy.
eating painkillers.
Yes.
Yeah.
In that context, it makes a little bit more sense. But I was like, ew, of course that's what it is.
It's less heightened here. It's more depraved here than a ridiculous, over-the-top, hard-boiled detective story.
Yeah, totally. Because this seems
where you have
like
a hero who's ostensibly good.
Right, this is a bad
This
guy
is a bad
anyway,
man.
who's like
Yeah.
gobbling painkillers and like killing people as violently as humanly possible.
Right.
It's like so
For
gross.
Brian Cox will be like, yes!
Yeah,
You
right.
did it!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Brian Cox is so
He's
good.
incredible.
So there was a lawsuit having to do with this game because one teen killed another teen in Britain.
Oh.
And the rumor was that that kid who killed him was obsessed with this game and talked about it constantly, was like super duper into it. And then he killed his friend in a super violent way.
Okay.
It kind of went back and forth with people then saying that it was misreported and that it was actually the kid who was murdered who was obsessed with the game. But either way, it got really muddy.
Yeah.
It was brought into court and the game got a lot of really terrible publicity. So there is Manhunt 2.
Yep.
It was released in Britain. It was not released in America, if I'm remembering correctly. And it's not as popular.
I think it was heavily censored here.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't follow the same plot at all. It's not about
No,
like,
it's a totally different thing.
yeah, it has nothing to do with like trying to get snuff footage. It's more of a like Fight Club type story of just like somebody who's out of his mind trying to escape a place. And I haven't played that. I've played Manhunt, and I usually can't play more than an hour.
Yeah.
At all. Not like I'll play it for an hour here and there.
Yeah.
Like I've never gotten past the first hour of the game. Number one, it's too hard.
Yeah.
Number two, it's too spooky.
Too scary.
It scares me. It stresses me out because you
It
have to.
seems like it.
It's all about like hiding in shadows from other crazy people that are like, "I heard you.
Yeah.
Where are you?" Because everybody else has been told that if they kill you, maybe they'll get set free. So you're really up against it.
Yeah.
And there was another mechanic in the game that if you had a headset and you plugged it in,
Oh,
and
yeah.
wore it,
Yep.
the Brian Cox voice would come through the headphones.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's awesome.
he'd be speaking directly into your ear, going like, "Yeah, that's right. Now get him." And it was just
No, that's
so-
scary.
Kristen, it's so scary.
Yeah.
It's
It
so
sounds
stressful.
like it.
It is kind of fascinating.
Uh-huh.
There's an aspect of this game that. So honestly, this is weird, but so I'm a writer and I write audio dramas.
Yep.
And Grand Theft Auto, starting with Grand Theft Auto 3, one of their big claims to fame was the radio stations.
Oh, yeah.
You could steal a car, drive around, and change the radio stations. You could listen to real music, pop music, you know, and they had talk radio stations. So they would have scripted, written, edited pieces of material where somebody's going like, "All right, welcome back to Chatterbox. We're taking calls from people around the city."
Yeah.
And it was comedy. It was very funny, like weirdos in the city calling to be like, "You know, I want to talk about pigeons. You know, pigeons are kind of delicious, you know, and sometimes you catch one that's got a little note attached to it. It's like a fortune cookie with wings." And the guy was like, "Okay, well, enough of talking to you. Is anybody sane listening? If you're a sane person, call in now."
Yeah.
Like just like weird comedy stuff. But they would refer sometimes in the Grand Theft Auto games to Carcer City. Carcer City is the setting of Manhunt. And so it started being its own little Marvel
That's
cinematic
fun.
universe of all these places really exist. And
Oh, I like that.
all these things are tied together. And like I said, if I were younger with Dead by Daylight or something, I'd pour through every ounce of material. That is what I did with
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto and Manhunt, of looking at all the ways that these things are connected and who are these characters and where did all this stuff come from. And it was all just so new and creative. And again, a medium that not everybody engages with.
Right.
And honestly, it's also sort of where my love of audio comes from. That and like Mel Brooks's The 2,000-Year-Old Man and like very early podcasts.
Yeah.
Like, listening to stuff that you can't see is frequently just as immersive or immersive in a different way.
Yeah.
So Manhunt will always have a sort of a soft place in my heart despite it being so grungy and disgusting because
Yeah.
Brian Cox's audio, it's not a film actor who's slumming it and giving a bad performance because I
No,
gotta
he's
do this
going
video game
for
thing.
it.
He's going for it. And he gives you the sense that this depraved man really exists and he's whispering into your ear.
God.
It feels so aggressively real.
Yeah.
It is fascinating.
Yeah. Yikes.
All right, the last thing that I'm going to tell you about, Kristen, I think, is going to pick up partially from there. Like I mentioned, Rockstar Games, they did Manhunt, they did Grand Theft Auto, and I said that they published a game called Max Payne.
Yeah.
The actual developers of the Max Payne game series were Remedy. Yeah, Remedy. And they went on to make a bunch of games that I didn't play because it wasn't Rockstar anymore. And I was a Rockstar fan.
Yeah.
But I recently doubled back. And boy, oh boy, Kristen, do I have some recommendations.
Okay.
So, Hunt a Killer, right? I've been working on the Blair Witch series for the past year. It's been wonderful. One of our showrunners for one of the seasons is a very talented writer, Travis Madden. And I was talking to Travis about Twin Peaks and horror and video games. And something that Travis suggested to me was checking out a game called Alan Wake. Are you familiar with this?
I in theory.
Okay. So Alan Wake is a video game where you play as Alan Wake. It's a guy.
Yeah.
He's a writer. And he has gone away to a little town, Bright Falls, it's called. And he's going away for a retreat so that he can get some writing done. But he goes to this town, and it is so clear from minute one that this is Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
One of the first places that he goes is a small diner, which is the exact same floor plan and layout as the Double R Diner. Because you can't copyright a floor plan. I mean, maybe you can copyright a floor plan. I don't know, but they used it for sure. And you can turn on the jukebox and you can walk around. You can explore things and talk to the people that live in this quirky place. They don't have the log lady, which is a very Twin Peaksy character. It's literally a woman who carries a log around and talks to it. They have the lamp lady. Everything in Alan Wake is about light and dark.
Okay.
Bright Falls. Alan Wake. Wake up. It's about day and night. By day, this is a very quirky place. By night, this is a very dangerous, dangerous, dangerous place. The basic concept of Alan Wake, this is not something that you would get by playing the game necessarily. This is heavy spoiler territory. And I want to say, I highly recommend Alan Wake. If you don't want spoilers, this is a great time for you to leave, quite frankly. Thanks for listening at GTTU Pod, patreon.com/GTTU Pod. You should go play this game.
I do want to play it.
It's fantastic. I'm going to spoil it for you right now.
I don't mind spoilers.
Okay. So, Alan Wake has gone to this town, and he will end up encountering monsters. At night, the townsfolk, the average townfolk, get corrupted into these like humanoid monsters that are babbling nonsense. Like they'll just be like, "I don't like it here," and that's how you know someone's near you to begin with. Like it'll just come from over there, or somebody will just be like, I said steak and eggs. I want breakfast. And you're like, oh, I guess there's someone here. They'll say non sequitur crazy things, and now they're running at you with a knife. You turn, you shine a flashlight on them first. You have to hold the flashlight on them to eliminate the darkness that's engulfed their bodies. Yeah. And then you can shoot them with a gun.
Okay.
So you've got to shine a flashlight, and then you can kill them.
Sounds like a two-thumb kind of game.
Kristen, it's a two-thumber.
A real two-thumber.
I would love for you to play this.
I don't know how well I would do with that.
You need like a training.
Yeah, I
You
know,
need to literally train because there's a whole world.
I know.
A whole world of wonderful stories.
I know.
And just the two thumbs are in your way.
They really are.
Who's got two thumbs and can't play games?
This guy.
So, that's really good. that's really good.
So stupid.
It's stupid, but it's really good.
Yeah.
So, anyway. God damn. So anyway, throughout the story, he loses his wife. She ends up falling in Cauldron Lake at the cabin that he's staying at. And here's what the story ends up being about. And it's so weird, Kristen. It's so weird. So he's a writer. And the things that he writes change reality. There's a whole thing, and you don't necessarily get this from just a blunt playthrough. If you play the game, you just encounter weird people and weird events, and it's up to you to piece it together. But if you find, like, as you play through the game, you'll find pages of a manuscript that Alan Wake has been writing.
Okay.
So there's all this other extensive lore stuff, again, that you can look through in menus and read through all these stories, all this text. You can find a TV in the game and turn it on, and a show will play. On the TV, your character can stand there and watch a TV in the game.
Oh, I told you it would take me a million years to play this game.
Oh, Kristen,
which is fine.
wonderful.
I'm not complaining.
Remedy. Remedy is an outstanding game developer that they do mixed multimedia. I think just outside of Hunt a Killer, Remedy does tons of mixed media that is insanely immersive. Just like Hunt a Killer, like you play a game, you get audio and video and stuff.
Yeah.
Remedy will have that all be in the video game where you can make your video game character turn on a TV and stuff. It's
I love that.
Kristen, it's fantastic.
That reminds me of, I know I've talked about it here before, but that game that you and I both played on the computer, it was a PC game. Was it Gone Home?
Gone Home.
Yes. Where like if you walked into a room, like it wasn't just that there was a static chest of drawers there. You could open the chest of drawers and there was gonna be a note there.
Yep.
Like whatever. You could interact with everything.
100%. All these things are very Myst inspired, I think, to some extent. The exploration, the looking for clues, the reading through documents.
Yeah.
But so what the game ends up exploring to a certain extent is that there is a doctor, Dr. Emil Hartman, and he runs an artist retreat where he's basically a therapist for artists who stay there. So Bright Falls, this town, is loaded with different kinds of artists. There's Thor and Odin, two elderly rock stars who are since retired, but hang out there and argue with each other and play chess, and you can just overhear them having conversations about the rock music they used to write.
Yeah.
The rock music that they wrote appears in the game periodically and stuff, which is very fun.
That's cool.
There are painters, and the thing is, Dr. Emil Hartman has noticed that in this town, when artists create something, it changes reality. And Alan Wake, being a writer, being able to literally change settings and say, you know, the wind swept and suddenly we were outside.
Yeah.
He can change the entire fabric of the world around you. And Dr. Emil Hartman has been trying to exploit this ability in artists in town.
So it's kind of like Bert and Mary Poppins with his chalk.
Bert would be right at home in Alan Wake.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, what is Bert? Is Bert like some sort of a
I don't know,
mage?
man. Yeah, he's
right? Like, I don't know what a mage is. It's a wizard guy, right? Yeah. He does
it's like a training wizard.
a magic man. Yeah.
A mage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Bert canonically is a mage.
Do you think Bert hangs out with Mary Poppins because he wants her to teach him her arcane magics?
No, I feel like they're almost peers.
No.
Maybe that's why they know each other.
Why does she come in off the wind?
She's a witch. She's a wind witch.
But he's just always
No,
around?
I don't know. I don't know.
Is he actually cleaning chimneys?
What's Bert doing? I don't know. They both have like powers.
Did he summon all those other chimney sweeps?
Yes, he did. He conjured them to do that
He
dance.
summoned a dozen doppelgangers.
Yeah. Remember that part where they're dancing on the roof and Mary Poppins just keeps spinning and spinning and spinning with her head?
This is a scary movie.
It's a scary movie.
I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah.
But so,
I was obsessed with it when I was a kid.
yeah. Yeah, well, you were in love with Dick Van Dyke.
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
Famously, I was in love with Dick Van Dyke.
He's still out there.
I know. And he's got a young filly of a wife.
Is that right?
Yes, his wife is like 45 years younger
Well, it
than
doesn't
him.
mean there can't be an accident.
I don't want an accident. Oh, wait.
What?
This is a little... an accident? What do you mean? I thought, you know what? I thought you meant like an accident within their marriage where like I get to hook up with...
No, I was implying that you murdered Dick Van Dyke's wife.
Makes more sense. Well, does it? I don't know. They're both weird. But also, you know how there's like the concept of a hall pass? Would it be weird if my hall pass is
Dick Van Dyke.
My ultimate after all these years.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, sorry.
But so, all right. So that's the plot of Alan Wake to a certain extent. Now here's the wacky old thing. Alan Wake, to my understanding, didn't do great.
Yeah.
It didn't do super well. It did fine, but it didn't light the world on fire. Cut to recently, the last couple of years, Remedy makes a new game called Control. Now, I think we talked about this a little bit in the past with the SCP Foundation. We did a whole episode about the SCP Foundation, which is all about you find an artifact, you lock it up, a fridge that'll eat you.
Yeah.
Wacky stuff. Control, the video game, is basically the SCP Foundation. Same thing. Giant, government building, and they track like a lamp that if it shines on you, it melts your skin.
Yeah.
And they're all a million documents in that as well. Of like, here are all the different artifacts. Here's what they do. They had DLC of Alan Wake, a sort of sequel to Alan Wake. If you download it and you play it, it's been 10 years since Alan Wake came out. There's been no update on what happened to that guy.
Yeah.
He's trapped in Bright Falls. He's a writer. He can change reality, but nobody knows what happened to him.
Like Nelson Tether's Puzzle Agent.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
That's a game that Will and I loved, and they never kept making sequels.
They only made 2 of them.
Yeah.
Puzzle Agent was wonderful.
It's great.
It was great. Also,
Who knows where Nelson Tage... Tethers is.
He could be anywhere.
I know.
Outer space.
Mm-hmm.
But that was also very Twin Peaks
Yes.
inspired. So in Control, if you get to the Alan Wake portion, first of all, your character will just be walking down a hallway, and then footage of Alan Wake will just play on top of the game screen. You know that quality in...
That's so exciting,
You know
I
in
bet.
Twin Peaks when they do a double exposure and it's Kyle MacLachlan's face somewhat transparent, you can see another Kyle MacLachlan looking around. It's that, and it's Alan Wake going like, Jessie walked down the hall. She was in charge now, but did she know what to do?
That had to be so exciting.
It was so exciting, and not only that...
Wait, had you already played Alan Wake and you
Yes.
wished it was... So you got to have this experience of being like, holy
Yes.
crap, this is Alan Wake.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And so you go to an arena. Video games have, boss fights and stuff, but you go to an arena where this government building is now holding a lot of the artifacts from the Alan Wake incident.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're in this building, and so they all have like bits of memory attached to them or supernatural stuff that ties to the events of the Alan Wake game, so you could hear echoes of the video game in this government building. And they captured Dr. Emil Hartman from the Alan Wake video game, who was running that facility trying to take advantage of all the artists. And you fight him in a boss battle. He's like a middle-aged man who ran an artist retreat.
Yeah.
And there's a boss fight.
That's
for him.
awesome.
But here's why. The town where Alan Wake takes place has some sort of crazy magic to it that he was trying to harness.
Mm-hmm.
In between the games, they say, he threw himself into the lake, believing that to be the source of the power. And he came out different.
Ah.
So
So he was right.
He was right, but, it's sort of that, like, careful what you wish for notion. Just like at the end of any Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah.
When you achieve the ultimate power, it usually melts your face.
Right.
You shouldn't be going after these artifacts. Dr. Emil Hartman, you walk into a room and the lights are flickering on and off. And there's a tall, like 20-foot tall humanoid being in there scuttling around and watching you. And the lights flicker, and I always have subtitles on, and it says at the bottom, and you hear just this like growling voice screeching, Hartman was stretched. He's
That sounds awesome.
no longer human anymore. His body has been pulled and distended up into this 20-foot tall beast, and he's mindlessly coming after you because of the
That sounds
power that
awesome.
he got.
Yeah.
Hartman was stretched, referring to himself in the third person, indicating some sort of a madness. The fact that he was stretched, what does that mean? That should kill you. No, you didn't? You're just a monster now? Okay, you got to find some way to fight him. It was one of the hardest things I ever did in a video game, Kristen.
Yeah.
And all the rumors, now having done that DLC, is that Alan Wake's coming back. They're going to do more with this writer who has now
That's so cool.
been to alternate dimensions and can control reality through his writing, which is very Stephen King as well.
Yeah.
Stephen King stories are about writers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a writer. And the idea of writing as a superpower is so enchanting to me.
Yeah.
Alan Wake
That sounds awesome.
and Control. There's so much lore I didn't get into because you see how long I just went.
It sounds awesome.
There's
I love it.
So much more. I would almost advise, like, let's figure out the two thumbs and then we launch you into Alan Wake. Because, Kristen, it's wonderful.
I'll
I'm
ever
sure
get there.
there's an easy mode.
Even easy mode. I need a game for a child.
I'm useless.
These things, they're useless. Thumbs.
All right, everybody. There you go.
Yeah.
Honestly, some horror lore and some horror recommendations. If you are a gamer and you haven't played these, go get them. If you're not a gamer, this is a whole world of stuff that maybe you didn't get to hear about before, some of which is admittedly inspired by other kinds of media, but video games do things different.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you can be like me and like go on YouTube and watch cutscenes and stuff if you don't want to play them but you think these stories sound cool.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
Do
it's
it.
an option.
Check out Manhunt. Check out, listen to Brian Cox talk for like 5 seconds of Manhunt, and you'll get it.
You will.
You'll also get why I've never gotten more than an hour in, but you'll also understand why I've played that first hour like 20 times.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's super cool. So there you go, everybody. What did we cover?
What games?
What was your first one?
I talked about Fatal Frame. Then you talked
Fatal Frame, Dead by Daylight,
Manhunt,
Manhunt,
and Alan Wake.
Alan Wake, and Control. Look all those things up. They are...
And Nelson Tether's Puzzle Agent.
Yeah, look up Nelson Tether's Puzzle Agent.
Yeah.
They're all creative. They're all clever. And they all, I think, to some extent, push the limits of games to a certain extent. There's a multimedia bent there. There's a lot of story
Yeah.
that I find really engaging and fascinating.
Yeah.
So there you go.
They're all really awesome. And if you'd like to check out more Guide to the Unknown, you can go to gttupod.com. That has everything you need. Links to all of our episodes, to our merch, and to our Patreon, which you can also access directly at patreon.com/gttupod. If you donate at the $4 or more per month level, then you get all kinds of thank you bonuses. Monthly episodes, monthly live streams, little bonus episodes here and there. We actually released a 20-minute bonus episode last week on top of our monthly on the books episode, just because we had too many stories to fit into last week's episode. So we recorded them and put them just for our patrons to say thank you.
Yeah, why not?
So go check it out. It really keeps the show going. We so appreciate it. And we give you a lot of cool stuff in return.
And like I said, coming up this month's Netherworld Dispatch is going to be us playing some horror games. So you're going to hear some clips from the games. You're going to see us struggle. Maybe we'll get Kristen to try to exercise those 2 thumbs and see what happens. Well, why not?
Yeah.
So go patreon.com/gttupod. Follow at GTTUpod to stay up to date with everything that we're doing, every new release that comes down the path. And if you want, you can also follow us.
That's right. I'm at Chillin' Kristen.
I am at The Myth Traveler. So thank you all so much for hanging out with us. Thank you for the suggestion, Lindsay, to talk about video games. We don't do this very much.
Yeah.
Everybody go check out previous episodes in our archives where we've talked about Silent Hill, Five Nights at Freddy's. It's come up here and there, but we infrequently touch on video games.
That's right. Actually, I want to mention something that is part of joining the Patreon is that you get access to a database of all of our previous episodes. So that means that you could do a find and replace for Freddy's and find the episode right away that's Five Nights at Freddy's. It's just like an extra little, it makes life easier if you're trying to find something.
Yeah, exactly. Make your life easier.
That's what we're trying to do.
So we'll be back next week for more spooky old stories, but until that time comes, we must travel.
Back to the netherworld, go we.
Through.
We're here. Beep, pop, beep. Beep, pop, beep, boop. I'm in the netherworld. It's so scary. How are you guys?
What's going on, everybody?
My hair is haunted. I know.
We've got fans of Mundo.
Yeah.
We got a super chat partway through from Drew.
Yes, thank you, Drew.
Said, good job, Kristen. You nailed Fatal Frame.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It sounded super cool to me.
It seems really cool.
Now, if I didn't make it clear before, I want to make it clear now. I was very concerned about doing a show purely about video games because I do think it could be too easy to get in the weeds.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, totally.
I enjoyed it. It was fun just talking about fun, scary concepts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think you and I both did the same thing with some of them because you could get in the weeds because there's a million things to talk about. But you just focused on Ghostface and Dead by Daylight. I just focused on the first thing of Fatal Frame. We made it work.
We made it work.
We did it. Yeah.
That was a good high five.
That was a good high five.
That was pretty good. Cool, everybody.
Cool. Well, we are going to go record our Patreon episode now.
Yeah, we out of here, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, everyone. I hope you had a good time.
Yeah.
Seriously, go look up those games right now. Christy Spinks in the chat is giving recommendations of a streamer. Christy, drop that name in here.
Drop it.
And Christy also says Dead by Daylight just added the Resident Evil expansion. Now you not only have Nemesis from Resident Evil 3, you have zombies that are also trying to kill you. Oh, I didn't realize they put regular zombies in too. That's cool. Yeah.
Neato.
Dope.
Cool, guys.
All right, everybody.
All right.
All right, everyone. Have a great
night.
rest of your night. I'm sure we will see you soon.
Yep.
Adios.